Section 5. Health and Safety. Health and safety is at the forefront of everything we do. Whilst you are working, the safety of you and your colleagues is of primary importance to us. We operate using risk assessments and event safety plans on larger events. We take a responsible approach to the safety of our team and everyone within our team. Now we're going to take a look at what you need to know to stay healthy and safe whilst part of our organisation. What's covered? We're going to be covering 6 basic areas of health and safety to give you what you need to know at this stage. So, we'll be covering our obligations to you, what we expect from you and your obligations to us, accident and incident reporting, typical hazards on venue that you'll encounter, what to expect when you arrive for your first shift, and lastly, some basic emergency procedures whilst you're working for us. Our responsibilities. Health and safety is about stopping you getting hurt at work because that's what we're responsible for. But you must help. There's 9 responsibilities upon us, which are: firstly, that we carry out risk assessments, deciding what could harm you and what to do to stop it. Secondly, that we deliver safety briefings to explain the risks and precautions to you. Thirdly, that we work with you and the safety reps to protect everyone from workplace harm. Fourth, that we provide health and safety training and protective clothing and equipment where needed. That welfare and first aid facilities are available. That there's a system in place for accident and incident reporting. And finally, that we work with other organisations who share the workspace to protect everyone's health and safety. Your responsibilities. It's also the case that you have obligations to us. It says so in the 1999 Health and Safety Regulations, where the focus are 4 key points, which are: firstly, you're expected to follow the training you've received throughout your shift. Don't take it upon yourself to change what you've been asked to do, where you're working and how you carry out the work without first consulting with your supervisor. Secondly, we expect you to take reasonable care of your own and other people's health and safety, meaning that common sense must apply throughout, and your actions must not place yourself or others in any sort of danger. Third, that you must cooperate with CSP as your employer on all matters of health and safety. So, if a risk assessment identifies a certain PPE to be used, you have a duty to use it. And lastly, that you also have a duty to inform someone if you think the work or inadequate safety precautions are putting anyone's health and safety at serious risk. As mentioned earlier, it's a requirement that there are suitable accident and incident reporting processes. What you see here is part of a front page of a CSP Accidents and Incidents form. You'll find a copy of this form contained within your General Information booklet given to you at the briefing. If not, there'll be copies held by your manager. When completing the form, please make sure you fill it in as completely as possible, capturing all vital information. Photos of the area where the incident happened and of the incident itself form a significant part of this report, and taking those photos is a really important part of managing our accidents and incidents going forwards. Remember, if you're involved in or witness an incident, report all incidents to your supervisor. If you can eliminate the problem safely, do so. Record all the details on an accident and incident form. Hand that completed form to your supervisor. It's also possible to use your smartphone to photograph the form and email it to CSP centrally, sending the email to keepitsafe@gotocsp.com. Types of reportable incidents. We'd rather have too many completed incident forms to deal with than a shortage of information after the event. So, we want to encourage you to fill in as many incident forms as is necessary. So what type of incidents are there that we'd like to know about? Clearly, you'd complete a form for any personal accidents or injuries that may happen, but also if you're witness to any hazard occurring or even any near misses. If there's an incident that damages property or creates loss, and if you're witness to or involved in any workplace violence. Finally, if you see any environmental damage taking place. In each of these cases, if you complete an incident form and take a couple of photos, then we have a good record of events to work with. Hazards. The definition of a hazard is something that is the potential source of harm or adverse health effect on a person or persons. There are many things that can be classed as a hazard. Some are obvious, whilst others can seem safe, but when used incorrectly, the result is a hazardous activity. Remember, it's your responsibility to take reasonable care and to tell someone if you're aware of a hazard or hazardous activity that's not adequately managed. Whilst a hazard has the potential to cause harm, it's often our actions that turn the hazard into an incident. Now, we encounter common hazards every day, things such as slippery surfaces and localized flooding, uneven walkways and deep water, cables lying across the paths and blocked fire escapes, hazardous waste requiring PPE to handle it, or even damaged equipment or poorly stacked equipment. Look out for poor workmanship and mistakes made by other contractors, or even our own equipment left in a poor and dangerous state. These are all examples of typical workplace hazards. How many did you spot? Remember, the key with hazards is if you see something, say something. What to expect. On arrival for your first shift, there are many things that will be new and unfamiliar to you. Once you've signed in, you'll be directed to the briefing area, where, before the general briefing, you'll receive a venue induction. These pictures are just a selection of some of our briefings that have taken place within CSP over the last 12 months. Now, the venue induction will provide you with the 6 things that you need to know to stay safe. Firstly, the venue and company site rules, meaning what you must and must not do. Secondly, the welfare arrangements, for example where to find the toilets, the refreshments and the first aid positions. Any relevant risk assessments will be explained to you and the control measures that you're expected to follow. What to do if you hear the fire alarm or other emergency procedures. Accident and incident reporting will also be explained, and what your channels of communication are with your colleagues and supervisors and how to raise the alarm. The venue induction will only be carried out once for each event or venue for new staff, this being different to the general briefing where you receive a daily briefing on the job you'll be doing that day. Evacuation procedure. Within many of our operations, we carry a responsibility to safely evacuate the venue should the need arise. It may be the case that the position you're working and the role you've been given is part of that evacuation plan. And if that's the case, then this will be highlighted to you during the general briefing, and you'll receive further additional briefing on what to do should the worst happen. Specific information for each venue will be provided at the briefing. However, there are several things that you can do that are common regardless of the venue where you're working. Firstly, follow the instructions you've been given by your supervisor and provide him or her with any information that you feel is relevant. Secondly, know your nearest exits and route to safety. If you're not sure, ask to see where the safe evacuation route is. Listen for any announcements over the public address system and know what the coded messages mean for the venue where you're working. Do not pass judgment and make comments to colleagues or strangers about the situation. Maintain your professional standards throughout. If a standby announcement is made, be sure to return to your position immediately and await further instructions. You may be asked to evacuate at short notice. Lastly, once an evacuation is confirmed, assist in the safe evacuation of all guests and persons from your area of responsibility. Remember, above all, keep calm and evacuate safely. You've reached the end of Section 5. Please return to your CSP portal to answer the questions.